family name once so well regarded is now barely whispered aloud by decent folk.
Further dungeons. Previously, blood. And by the save files count, we are at 22 weeks into the game. Where, for reference, the point where I set the game down previously was 60-something. So far, I feel ahead of previous curve. Maybe. We'll see how well that holds up. The real thing will be how quickly one can bounce back from any major setbacks, which are prone to happen once we start hitting the tier 2 boss fights. Got three afflictions that need clearing. And let's have a think about... Oh, we could go after the Prophet. Prophet is available. I think I was intending to do further blood since I have another invite on hand. Then I also need my blood team to rest. I could also, now that 3 of the usual suspects are vampirized, I could substitute in Rome here if I get him more leveled up. He's a fine frontliner. Then I would have a fully unblooded team for sending into Vampire Dimension. It has its uses. Or I could stick with Ray. Ray is doing fine. Ray is capable. Defeat the Prophet, though. Barking team would do well at that. They have strong back row damage. And I don't need to clear off any equipment here. Got some leper gear. Leper, man-at-arms. Moved scouting. You're not really using hooks for anything. Could de-equip that. Scouting and stress heal. Current blood level is high. Trinkets that benefit you, that amplify bloodlust when you are filled with blood. I think my move of choice here is that this team can go defeat the Prophet. The basic Prophet. Let's get loaded up.
Excavations beneath the manor were well underway when a particularly ragged indigent arrived in the hamlet. This filthy, toothless miscreant boasted an uncanny knowledge of my ambitions and prognosticated publicly that, left unchecked, I would soon unleash doom upon the world.
He was right, of course, but you're not supposed to say it out loud. That's rude.
The echoes of his mindless tittering reverberate maddeningly. Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage. Hacks laden with loot are often low on supplies. Executed with impunity. Back to the pit.
There we go. Fair enough use of action here.
Annihilated.
Also, as far as the thought of if the Prophet's rambling helps, say, encourage the Ancestor to hire bandits to bounty hunt his own subjects and what have you. Maybe? Probably? The Ancestor's failings are all kinda interlocking. To call any one of them cause or effect is a bit, incomplete. And this... Holy water could clear an affliction. Oh, a quirk. Well, as you do. Oh, the Ancestor was absolutely releasing monsters into the wilderness. the hog infestation is entirely the result of discarded lab materials
As the fiend
from his demon summoning work.
a faint hope blossoms. Another abomination cleansed from our lands.
He also probably invited the fishmen into the cove, directly or indirectly.
Eradicated.
He was about to fix the blood problem, but was a bit too late.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
He admittedly dragged his feet over it because he was enjoying the Blood Garden as much as anyone.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
Beep.
Does Sarcophagus want a key? No. Does it want herbs? Does it want holy water? Do I just open it?
Another one falls.
Smooth.
Be gone, fiend.
Got him.
The wounds of war can be healed.
The weirdest reconstructions.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. This expedition at least promises success.
You have someone equip the Dodge Stone. Have the occultist equip the Dodge Stone.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
Alright, well, I know there's a barricade right there, and so don't throw out the shovel yet. But maybe I chug the holy water? Worth it for a portrait. Or throw out the torch. Yeah. I really only bring torches to interact with puzzles. And there's another barricade further along. We need more shovel. Or just time. We're not really damaged at all yet. We should have the luxury of, like, camping right before the boss fight.
Without tools of iron, you must rely on flesh and indefatigable purpose.
What if I anti-venom the bullocks? What if I bandage the bullocks? Bullocks are just bullocks. Bullocks are disease. Alright, so 3 fights between us and the Prophet.
Decimated. Obliterated. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Anti-venom. Disregard the torch. Two fights left. The main risk here is the occultist might pop an affliction before we get there. Flood.
A dizzying blow to body and brain. Destroyed. Fear and frailty finally claim their due. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
Yeah, it's another whole field of irritation. How many enemy moves just sort of do everything at once. Take your damage, and your stress, and your stressed damage.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood.
Alright, so we're going to have 2 afflictions going into the Prophet fight. I can accept this. This fight will go fine.
A powerful blow.
Surprising.
Horrors.
This wizard's mind is very
Driven into the
durable.
mud.
Holding out just fine. Alright, yeah, I can leave all of this behind. I mean, crests, but we have many crests. Or ditch $1,000 worth of onyx. Take those crests. And we camp.
Circle in the dark. The battle may yet be won.
Camp, we feast. Don't even really need triage. There will be a lot of stress damage going around in the Prophet fight. Although, wait, do the Prophet's moves run on marks? Because if that's the case, we can really shut him down. He does cold shots, but I don't know if he does marking as the way they implement the cold shots.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
Secret door. What's in that bonus room? Just cash.
The madman hides there, behind the pews, spouting his mindless drivel.
Right, he attacks locations rather than characters.
Impressive. momentary abatement.
Yeah, the question if I want to harvest any of the pews or just rush down the prophet. Or both? Yeah, let's get some blood out of him. He has no resist to damage over time, pretty well. He's looking at you. He has special eyes.
Decisive pummeling. Teetering on the brink, facing the abyss.
Right, these get tougher the farther back you go.
Injury and despondence set the stage.
33 health with 12 bleeding on the schedule.
Cowardice. Masterfully
There,
executed.
dealt with. I'll take that
Did he
win.
foresee his own demise? I care not, so long as he remains dead.
Didn't even have to spend these treats.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
And looks like most of the crew is very down for blood. Down for blood, out for blood. Blood, seeking blood. Hire a third antiquarian.
She searches where others will not go, and sees what others will not see.
Maybe this one will last 2 missions. Usual suspects. Back to the blood yard. How large is a stack of blood? 6 units. We previously dealt with about half. North of Party Zone, cleared except for this one hall and this one curio, which is surely nothing of import. Dismas, drink your blood. And off we go.
A handsome reward for a task well performed. Executed with impunity. Another one falls. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
This is probably the same shape as the north half. Broadly speaking. Maybe slightly different exact room layout. What I know, this dungeon has a fixed layout. And we're just getting scout of adjacent rooms. We reveal the map as we go rather than knowing it in advance.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
The exact enemy loadout probably shifts around a bit. That would be off a table.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
What is a human if not Vessel for Blood?
Is the weapon that cuts on its own. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. As victories mount, so too will resistance.
Now, the sheer size of this map does very quickly confuse the UI here. It does not stay oriented long.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
It's remained a persistent great thing about the presentation, how much impact it lends every action.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Savor every swing. Fountain. disarm that swamp.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
We've stepped on a lot of hunger. Such a good pull move. Just be rude. So rude. So unforgivably rude. I must destroy him.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Precision and power. Foolish horrors. Brought low and driven into the mud.
Gonna left-hand rule this place.
Wealth beyond measure. Awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike.
Immeasurable blood. Wait, so... I suppose the Baron is in that room, then. The key could be anywhere. Either that or the lock was a shortcut and the Baron is even deeper into the dungeon. Who can say?
The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden. Decimated.
If you miss the hit with Judgment, you don't get the recovery. You got it.
Slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving. Hideous mutation. Unnatural and abhorrent.
Gator. Gator.
Gasping, taken over the edge into madness.
Why even give these health if they're so unbreakable? Do you have some move that's going to overcome 80% resistance and 209 dodge? 209 dodge on grass.
The flesh is knit.
Everyone take damage, then stress, then more stress, then debuff.
Injury and despondence set the stage for heroism or cowardice.
Right. Retreats can fail.
At the very precipice of oblivion.
And it recovers health when... Okay, yeah, Gator is bad.
Not in being outmatched, but in failing to recognize it.
What a fucking waste of time.
to pick ourselves up once again.
And it's in my way, so, yeah, run over. On that visit.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Now everyone needs to de-stress. You really have enough crest for the puppet theater. The Relentless Tide. Because infestation level is high everywhere, and there's nothing saying what might put that back down. One would assume the presence of an intensity gauge means it can move in both directions instead of slamming all the way to the right and staying there forever. Even in the darkest dungeon, there is blood.
They breed quickly down there in the dark. But perhaps we can slay them even faster.
slam directly into blood.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
The sheer number of enemy moves that are deal stress and chip damage. And our stress chip damage, also it's targeting everyone because it's a stress move.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Their purpose is to follow up on Evni perilous situation, and okay, he ran off. And is replaced by 4 mosquitoes.
Even the boldest gaze.
Why? Him just leaving, okay, that makes sense. He's the one with the prize. We wanted to beat him up to get the thing. Except now, here's an entire additional fight. Because a dude ran away?
Self-preservation is paramount, at any cost.
Yes, and furthermore, everyone takes a stress dot. Because of the horrifying sight of a man left.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
The tiny messenger lad backed off. Horrifying.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Now we have the data. Now we've hit the meat of... right, systems are bad in this. Systems actively sabotage
This
themselves.
expedition at least promises success.
The first battle of the dungeon. The double battle of the dungeon.
A decisive pummeling.
Turn 0. Everyone is dead.
Destroyed.
Everything is going to be bugs and blood instead of the actual enemies of the local dungeon. Because the blood forecast goes to high and never turns back down.
Eradicated. success so clearly in view? Or is it merely a trick of the light?
Sacrificial stone, which nothing interacts with. Maybe a blood vial? No. Sacrificial stone, with which nothing interacts.
Fear and frailty.
Maybe that's for laudanum. Hey look, this hall has been reinfested with more bugs. No, actual hogs. Okay. Found a normal encounter. As punishment, take 20 stress. 40 stress. 200 stress.
Gnawing uncertainty. The birthplace of dread.
Oh, that's festering vapors, not recovering vapors. The other vapor.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. More blood soaks the soil, feeding the evil therein.
So my read on this situation is I should not buy any upgrade for any character until I'm able to brute force my way through the Blood Garden using only basic recruits. A fresh wave every week.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Because what the scenario is doing is punishing progress. That's the foundation at work here.
Great adversity has a beauty. It is the fire that tempers.
That's it. That's the nature of the padding in this game.
To the resourceful thief, burials are merely ephemeral affairs.
Port left. Port is missing.
It is done. Turn yourself now to the
Wait,
condition
when
of
did-
those poor devils who remain.
When did Ray get vampired? When there's no contagion level, and he was in a different department.
Suffer not the lame horse, nor the broken man.
Progress is
Another
verboten.
soul battered and broken, cast aside like a spent torch.
Just purge all my vampires and repopulate as needed.
Send this one to journey elsewhere, for we have need of sterner stock. This one has become vestigial, useless. More arrive, foolishly seeking fortune and glory in this domain of the damned.
And I need to brute force out a mid-level party in order to be permitted to resume counteracting the blood. No upgrades. We're just not buying any upgrades. Everyone has what they have. That's it. Throwing knife, poison dart, more knives, and poison. Anti-poison. Poison of the self. You get food and no other supplies.
Corruption has soaked the soil.
Go
sapping
earn
our
supplies.
life from these groves. Let us burn out this evil.
Slam directly into blood. It'll immediately grant everyone 200 stress.
Well struck.
Give me 4 new vampires in one fight.
Their formation formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. The slow death. Unforeseen. Unforgiving. Disadvantage. Give them no quarter. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
Treasure, which has negative value unless you gambled on bringing the right supplies to the right dungeon. Unless you devote half your inventory and a shitload of cash up front to guessing which number the dungeon is thinking of.
Impressive. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. Obliterated. As victories mount, so too will resistance.
Investing in your units is mandatory for success. Investing in your units is also a trap. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. A death by inches. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. 3 damage, not enough bleed to be worth removing. You actually know the rest of your moves, so I could start to experiment. Bleed an enemy and heal yourself. That's your bleed artillery. Clear mark, transfer bleed, transfer blood. And then mark yourself, but gain armor and gain death blow resist. The problem, I have to look at this block and ask myself, does this even have positive value for me? Is this action just bad?
Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed.
It's a game about making the best of bad situations. Meaning we didn't make any of your tools work. A game where the best move is not to play. Here's more invitations. Here's more vampires. The aesthetic of the bug vampires is wonderful. The implementation of them is miserable.
These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
They have the abstract of, okay, vampirism as an addiction. You crave blood, but blood makes you strong. But they forgot the second half of that statement.
Without tools of iron, you must rely on flesh.
Take a video game addiction and make it more like a real-world addiction. And that it's just sad. The rare privilege of encountering the usual enemies of the dungeon. Hello, Mushroom Men. It's good to see you've not been annihilated by ticks. Now, because there is no fail state, and you do have upgrade currency as a long-term investment, sending wave after wave of raw recruits into the dungeon with no expectation of retaining them to retrieve any amount of treasure, that has value. That pays out benefit.
This expedition at least promises success.
So the further turnabout on that, let's see, bandage, no. Torch, no. Keys, no. Just look at the tent. Tent does nothing. The existence of that means that also all these brutal threats to lay down on the team are illusions. This is difficulty theater. Just with only the negative side of things. The price of any of these is busy work.
I fear his long-standing duties here have affected him.
Like, okay, I have a level 4 unit now. I can have him go sit in the corner and wait to, like, put in the necessary work hours to generate another level 4 character, or better.
Suffer not the lame horse, nor the broken man. Barbaric rage and unrelenting savagery make for a powerful ally.
Instructor Mastery 3 is the only thing keeping me from taking even higher experience recruits. For which I need more portraits. Back to the grind, then. Take another Warren skirmish. Norman, come on down.
They breed quickly down there in the dark. but perhaps we can slay them even faster. Wealth beyond measure, awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike.
As I've noted elsewhere, the brutality and lethality of combat encounters, the willingness to, have a turn of the dice do huge irreparable damage to you, is actively, it's antagonistic to having a deep customization system where you tailor your units toward tasks. I could spend a bunch of gold crafting the personalities of these units to specialize in things and probably get good results out of the numbers that result. Except, I can have to throw any one of those away at any time because, oops, vampires. Or, oops, string of critical hits. Or any number of other abrupt perils. And now, okay, start over. There's nothing interesting to pull out of that. Just, oh well, start again.
Annihilated.
Vampire werewolf. Weregoat. Werebeast.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Like, the takeaway I have from this now, okay, he's dead, but I get to use him for the rest of the dungeon before throwing him out. Death minus. Two fights, two blood.
A decisive pummeling. Adversity can foster hope and resilience. Struck. Destroyed. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Right, that was the start of the walk. We haven't even reached the room fight yet.
Festering fear consumes the mind. Time to perform beyond one's limits. Dazed. ceiling, about to break.
Like, the bugs infesting other areas and making themselves pervasive should communicate, okay, go engage the courtyard, go do it. Go play the game in that direction. And then the courtyard says, no, fuck off. Send normals here, they're all vampires now. Send vampires here, there's no tangible benefit for doing so.
Destroy them all. A powerful blow. A death by inches. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
They touch the Mystery Stone. Let's get some more loot. The great relief is seeing ordinary disease-carrying vermin.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Be gone, fiend. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
If you have a team that you've, like, fully upgraded and pushed to the limits of skill and... Brood, come on. Boys, I wanted to use that! Sorry, you have the trait that says you don't get to even dive into hell and have yourself a good time. Great. Smooth.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles. Paid for in
Yes, I was starting to say, when you have a fully upgraded team, that kind of approaches the experience that would serve this better. Where what you get is being proactive and very effectively using your skills can dismantle a fight before it becomes a problem. And if you start to make mistakes or have some misfortune, then you take damage. Then you suffer attrition.
As life ebbs, terrible vistas of emptiness reveal themselves.
Because then the experience there is you'll suffer attrition because the dungeon goes on a while.
Executed with impunity.
But you are paying when you make mistakes. And when you're not making mistakes, you're getting payout.
Another one falls.
You succeed at things and receive material feedback to keep the game going. Whereas if you're on the leading edge of the curve, none of your moves feel powerful enough to make a difference in an encounter.
Trick of the light.
And so you're engaged in a bunch of busy work of flailing away at a meat wall.
Watch your step. Their squeals fade. Their confidence is shaken. Our family name, once so well regarded, is now barely whispered aloud by decent folk.
But the upgraded team, furthermore, it doesn't gain enough in survivability to protect your investment.
The lame horse, nor the broken man.
You invest in your team and it remains about as fragile as it ever was. Swine Prince. Could I fight Swine Prince? I could fight Swine Prince. Do I still have my good Arbalest, or did I have to purge them? They're gone, but I could tailor Norman into an appropriate counterplay. It just needs Rallying Flare. Yeah, if I assemble a Mark squad, doing this that would be impossible in regular mode of sending a higher level unit into a lower tier dungeon. Which, with that being part of the base game, the intended experience is that you do not live on the high edge of the curve. You're supposed to live on the low edge of the curve. The intended experience is the miserable slog. Where you just never stop bouncing off of obstacles. New Abomination, level 2 Occultist.
Tortured and reclusive. This man is more dangerous than he seems.
Still don't have Portraits for Instructor Mastery, and I'm not going to do Conversion, because I may as well save up enough crests to buy the Puppet Theater. See if that makes the level of background stress recovery useful, decent, humane, relevant? Instead of just bad. You take Evasive Incense and Healing Charm. You don't need anything. Take, where's my scouting whistle? There you are. And you take your hat and your whip. No, it's some kind of... Oh, it's a bird foot. A decoration, alright. Let's go hog fighting. Since this is a real dungeon, I will bring supply.
The ways and rituals of blood sacrifice are difficult to master. Those from beyond require a physical vessel if they are to make the crossing into our reality. The timing of the chants is imperative. Without the proper utterances at precise intervals, the process can fail spectacularly.
And yet, so like the reason that these blurbs here, when you're going into a boss dungeon, feel a bit abrupt, like in the way they cut off, is because like the full tale of the boss is told across the 3 iterations of the boss.
A nameless abomination. A testament to my failures. It must be destroyed.
Ancestor, please acknowledge your giant hog son. He tries his best.
Annihilated. Obliterated. A death by inches. Back to the pit. Executed with impunity. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
Skirting along this edge here should be the shortest route to the boss. So let's do that. There's little reason to prioritize anything else during a boss raid. Get there, get the job done. Also, having good scouting odds means we're going to chart most of this dungeon automatically. Dogman is a good scout.
Another abomination cleansed from our lands.
Yeah, moves like those drums are one of my earlier complaints about chip damage being a rider on a bunch of things. That move is there to make Death's Door not really occur as a mechanic. Just, hey, here's this free follow-up. That means anyone who got put to critical this turn can just die. Right away.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Bounty Hunter's real strong. Also, he's fully upgraded for this tier. He's 3s across the board.
Insidious killer.
Doing his job as a rude and rowdy frontliner. Okay, so Bones. What if I herb you? What if I anti-venom you? What if I shovel the bones? What if I holy water the bones? Good to know. Just remember all the other curios that are the remains of the recently, or not so recently dead, for which holy water doesn't do anything.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Consistency would be overpowered.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Curios could be made much less egregious if their interactions weren't purely item-driven. Like, we have all these classes, and these classes have tags that exist as part of them for, like, typing, even if it's something that's barely used. What if instead they used that? Gotta make room for blood. Alright, this is the unlocked box, so there's nothing further to do with it. Just touch it. Standard box.
Is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
Like, any object you want to interact with holy stuff, why not have a priest holy at it with their holy powers? A locked box. If only I had career criminals hanging around who probably know how to bust open locks. Alas, the crime is unsolvable. Hey, team of scholar adventurers, what do you think of these books? Are these good books? Are these books safe?
Secrets and wonders can be found in the most tenebrous corners of this place.
And they have precedent for it because that's part of what the antiquarian does. If you have the antiquarian poke things, she adds more loot to it. Yep, there he is. Camp up.
A spark without kindling is a goal without hope.
Yeah, get some buffs in here. For anyone who missed the start of the we're not fighting the meat right now. This is the prince. We have an audience with hog royalty.
The light, the promise of safety. It is a travesty, a blundering mountain of hatred and rage.
So here's this fight. There is the prince, who is the main threat, and his small friend. The small friend marks targets, then the prince follows up by attacking those targets. If you attack the small friend, that also angers the prince, and he will do some follow-up moves of his own. In addition to those. And if you kill the small friend first, the prince enters into a different degree of anger. So what we do instead is burn off our marks, and now the prince has no idea what to do. His unmarked attack is far less dangerous. Having any number of arbalests is the strongest counter play that you have against the king. Well, prince and then some other title and then king, or prince, king, emperor, something. The various hog lords. And if you don't have that move, there's still the fallback of you take advantage of the fact that it's a cold shot boss and just plan your defense and recovery accordingly. Prioritize your targets. This is pretty reasonable. It doesn't go in too hard on having counters to your reasonable moves.
Liquefaction cannot come soon enough.
And now Wilbur on his own is harmless. There are standard dungeon hogs in the regular encounters that are more dangerous than Lone Wilbur.
Seize this momentum.
A second whistle.
To the task's end.
And wear this just to help us get it out of the dungeon. We get a dead rat! Which, what, the curse can kill you directly? Do you just die if you run out of blood? Spend an accessory slot to remain in hideously debuffed state? Indefinitely?
I can still see their angry faces as they stormed the manor. But I was dead before they found me. And the letter was on its way. In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Popping in here to see how we're doing on journal progress. 1 completed. And a bunch more are filling out. Eventually we will run out of scraps of paper. Got stressed by that terribly. Let's do some Cove. It's time for fish. Where are we? Flagellant. Hellion. And, who's in the cart today? Rank 2 Antiquarian.
She searches
What's up?
where others will not go, and sees what others will not see.
Surely you will survive one job. Wizard, Antiquarian. You already have scurvy. Perfect. Great Iron Swan for... Yup. Breakthrough for if it bleeds? Or no, breakthrough for Adrenaline Rush. Bleed out for if it bleeds. And give you the Fortifying Vapor. To the sea. I don't think you can stack the benefits of antiquarians. It's just, did you bring one or not?
These salt-soaked caverns are teeming with pelagic nightmares. They must be flushed out. Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Tide pool. It's spooky water. Which kind of purify does that mean? Herbs, spices, raw water?
Falls, a faint hope blossoms. Their formation is broken.
Hellions are good times.
Offensive.
Been weird that I haven't had a Hellion team going for much of this run.
Another mariner?
They do good work.
Another misfortune. If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption. arrows may indeed stalk these shadows, but yonder, a glint of gold.
Yes, good.
To fight, falters.
Pile it on. Bring it in.
Destroyed. The slow death, unforeseen.
I try to rearrange him a little more to fully engage his pain moves.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Eradicated. Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
Fish. Do I holy water the fish? Yes. Today, religious sculpture meant use holy water. It doesn't always.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. A singular strike. Diminished.
We're stockpiling a lot of invitations. If enough of them accumulate, should I just try to brute force the garden? Then wave after wave of rookies. Till eventually one of them surely bludgeons their way through the gator.
Annihilated. defense surges as the enemy crumbles. Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood. Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
He's not bleeding enough.
Be gone, fiend.
We need more blood.
These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten. Wealth beyond measure, awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike. The pungent odor abates. The things are driven back for a time.
Our first surviving
You answered
antiquarian.
the letter. Now, like me, you are a part of this place.
Put you into the hospital to treat scurvy. 2-point man-at-arms. Yeah, I should just clean these out.
Send this one to journey elsewhere, for we have need of sterner stock. Suffer not the lame horse. nor the broken man.
I should never recruit a level 0 unit.
A lawman and his faithful beast. A bond forged by battle and bloodshed. It is done. Turn yourself now to the condition of those poor devils who remain.
Siren fight. I think I could do Siren. Yeah, I could probably do Siren. Like, if nothing else, just bringing the A-team out there would deal with the Siren. Man-at-Arms. A Vestal? Vestal and an Arbalist? Nearly there for Puppet Theater. That's more important. We'll always have more crests. They fall out of the sky.
Word is traveling. Ambition is stirring in distant cities.
Level 3 heroes can now appear. Re-veteran, rendering all of this other meat completely pointless. We will find more crests.
My lofty position wasn't always accompanied by the fear of office. And there was a time when I could walk the streets or raise a glass in the tavern without concern for molestation. Faithful as the tide, one precocious village waif made it her hobby to shadow my every errand. It was charming then, troublesome later. I always wondered what became of the unfortunate little waif.
Also, a rather fair percentage of the bosses are
Finding the stuff is only the first test.
are the ancestors' various
How it
arcane
must be carried
ex-lovers.
home. Eradicated.
Yeah, shield bash that mosquito.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Yeah, think about it now. Is every boss like a direct consequence of the ancestors' actions.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
The Siren and the Hag were both his paramours. The Drowned Crew and the Bandits were employees. The Necromancer was a co-worker. The Flesh Mound is industrial residue. The Hog Prince is his unrecognized son by way of horrible meat magic. The vampires are, you know, the inhabitants of the family fuck barn.
Decimated. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless. Another mariner, another misfortune.
I only had one shovel.
The sparkling eyes of youth.
Hey!
And made merciless.
Hey, this guy! What took you so long? It's your boy! The Prophet tried to warn people about the Ancestor and was punished for it. Put into his current, you know, gibbering mad state by ancestral punishments. Anyway, enough lore talk. Here's the Collector. He's a fun mini-boss. He's great. He has all of these heads and spines of the character classes you use. He collects heads of people from the dungeon. So he has ads that use moves you recognize, and he's full of skulls. He has a lot of skulls. He's great.
Grievous injury. Palpable fear. Impressive.
Okay, got him.
A predator is often blind to its own peril. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
Collector is also a reasonably well-balanced fight. I like the Collector and the Shambler. They're both fun mini-bosses. They hit a good midpoint of being threatening, but also being solvable, approachable.
Their plan is broken. Maintain the offensive.
When you defeat the Collector, you get a head! These are rare items that have a powerful buff in exchange for stress. They're the heads of the signature characters. If each class has an official version of themselves. That's a good head. Each head is naturally a very good piece of equipment for the class it came from, in exchange for the stress of your carrying around your own severed head. As you do. Hazards in the workplace. Dizzying implications. Yeah, Junya is the official Vestal, I believe.
Annihilated. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
Okay, solved.
Soothed. Sedated. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light?
Could be over there or over there.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
Every blood enemy can grant Draculism.
Precision and power.
That's another avenue they would have open to make these less of a pestilence, less of an irritant. Is if specific enemies were blood threats.
Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
Just down that now.
Wealth beyond measure, awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike. About to break. Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
For something that's a permanent game-changing character modifier, it shouldn't just land like any other status effect.
A moment of respite. A chance to steel oneself against the coming horrors.
Weapon practice marching orders
Compassion
triage.
is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle.
Yeah, there we go. That's a cave.
The light, the promise of safety. Masterfully executed.
I think it can just be said that in practice there are no benefits to the Dracula.
Executed with impunity.
It's a textbook place to put a risk-reward mechanic, but it has negative value per the design philosophy of the game. It's just bad. Any positive number on Draculism is an afterthought.
Foolish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud.
She's not here. Fortunately, those buffs were per battle, not by time. So they'll still be there when I find the siren. Unless the game throws enough battles in my way. Blood? No. Remarkably, it's fish.
Death waits for the slightest lapse in concentration. Death by inches. The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden. The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving.
There, have some blood. You requested blood. There it is. Blood was inside you all along.
Decisive pummeling.
Be the blood you want to see in the world.
is the weapon that cuts on its own. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption. Secrets and wonders can be found in the most tenebrous corners of this place.
Alright, we'll be taken to the edge of having my camping buffs removed by RNG. Let's go.
A devastating blow.
The wounds of war can be healed, but never hidden. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
And blood.
The
Fish.
aquatic
We're
devils
here.
have remade the poor girl in their image. She is their queen and their slave.
So here's Siren. She bewitches a party member. It'll wear off after a bit. Then she'll bewitch a different party member.
Well struck.
Self-preservation is paramount at any cost.
A powerful blow.
Fortunately, when she steals one of my healers, their numbers are balanced for my units and not them. And you're wasting your time, because I'm not going to attack my own unit. Powerful honk, though. Oh boy, 4 damage! Got him! Fall into my trap. I love bleeding. Yeah, just flail more. Because that's 12 more damage from the bleeding. It also doesn't always work. Yeah!
Madness. Sublimity of the intelligence. Oh, so has been said.
There we go. Siren defeated.
Hideous matriarch, vile queen of the aphotic depths. She has no place in the sane world. A singular strike.
Yeah, the class design for the player side of things is firmly on the positive side. All of your classes have interesting tools to interact with your environment with. They create good game plans.
This expedition at least promises success.
Herbalist Greaves. Most of my problems with encounters and with difficulty and valuations rest firmly on the right-hand side of the board here. Rare Mercurial Salve. Improved damage versus blood.
I remember days when the sun shone and laughter could be heard from the tavern.
Alright, you have to go calm down. You get to find a new line of work.
Send this one to journey elsewhere, for we have need of sterner stock.
We have new herbalists.
Bandage and pillage.
And
The
lepers,
dancing steps of war.
who I could put to use immediately. That's a thought for a gimmick run that could be functional. Of retain no teams. Recruit 4 people, send them out. Figure out how to make them work. Relax, it's fine. Fear nothing. Tasks are entirely acceptable. You got this. Just go blood. I have 6 invites and I'm going to use them. Your only mission is to get past the gator. If you can do that, good on ya.
A hideous mutation. Unnatural and abhorrent. Ringing ears. Blurred vision. The end approaches.
Okay. You got it, buddy. Sure thing.
And now the true test. Hold fast or expire. More dust. More ashes. More disappointment.
Also, marks wear off faster because this is an enemy that does double actions. And everything, effect-wise, is timed by actions instead of by turns.
Dazed. Reeling. About to break. Injury and despondence set the stage for heroism or cowardice.
Yeah, understandable that you're afraid. You're going to die here. I'm not bringing this team home.
Covered injury.
You don't get to escape.
Find it in no short supply. Sedated. Grievous injury. Palpable fear. Survival is a tenuous proposition in this sprawling tomb.
In other situations, sending underleveled characters means that, you know, you have to play more careful. Here it just means no, you will not progress, because they gave this stupid crocodile regen. Well, time to have your heart explode because you had to idle.
A hand's breadth from becoming unwound. More blood soaks the soil, feeding the evil therein. Another life wasted in the pursuit of glory and gold. Regroup. Reassemble. Evil is. In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
That's how you pass a week. Fester.
Ye will
Doctor.
be laughing still
Festal.
at the end.
Yeah, remember, this upgrade is high-level heroes can appear, not will appear, because random numbers are a disease that should be expunged from all entertainment products. There's more generic use over there. One more proper dungeon, and then that'll be a session. Keep it short. You get food. And kind words? On your way, meat.
They breed quickly down there in the dark. But perhaps we can slay them even faster. To the pit. Executed with impunity. A decisive pummeling. Begone, fiend.
Most of the time I don't even notice the effects of a lot of the traits that pop.
Gnawing uncertainty. The birthplace of dread.
This whole layer of fiddly bits that usually goes unnoticed, it's kind of wasted space.
Cleansed from all
These aren't doing
lands.
anything.
Continue the Destroy them all. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
We've gone whole minutes without seeing 1,000 mosquitoes.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. Obliterated. Foolish horrors. Brought low and driven into the mud.
A club for dogs.
Secrets and wonders can be found in the most tenebrous corners of this place.
Ah, the enemy landed a critical hit. Take 40 stress. taken a lot of stress recently. Take another 24 stress. You are alive. 10 stress.
These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
There's the blood.
Decimated. Annihilated.
200 surplus invitations. Which are all going to be useless the moment that we actually do manage to defeat the Baron, because they're Baron invitations, not Countess invitations. Or did Baron count Duchess? Was the progression? Either way, the surplus will be thrown in the dirt, and we will need to refresh it all anyway. Lucky dice.
About to break. Eradicated.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. fear and frailty finally claim their due.
There, that's a keeper.
Adversity can foster
There's a proper wizard.
and resilience. As victories mount, so too will resistance. Some experiments should have never happened. You are doing just work ending them.
Except also, you get worse. You succeeded the dungeon, you did like a virtuous thing, you defeated a bunch of enemies, you didn't manage to get vaporized. Fuck you anyway.
Women and men, soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear. Those without the stomach.
Those trait procs at the end of missions are complete nonsense.
Send this one to journey elsewhere, for we have need of sterner stock. The raw strength of youth may be spent, but his eyes hold the secrets of 100 campaigns.
No grave robber on the roster right now.
To those with a keen eye, gold gleams like a dagger's point.
And no highwaymen.
Elusive, evasive, persistent. Righteous traits for a rogue.
And yeah, that'll be a session. We have returned to the part where the game gets bad. Be determined. Can you power through? Or is this merely a trick of the light?